Code's 12 rules for relational DBMS. So RDBMS we can say it collectively. And Code is a scientist who is considered as a father of database management systems. As we saw in the history earlier, we were not having database management systems. We were managing our data with different techniques. Okay, maybe in file system, traditional file system, but there were a lot of disadvantages, and this person came with the solution basically to overcome all those problems and to make the basis or maybe the concept what we learned until now or we will learn in this relational database. So Dr. E.F. Code, also known to the world as the father of database management system, has propounded 12 rules which are in fact 13 in number. Okay, 12 if we are saying, and later on we are saying 13 in number, so that means we are starting from 0. According to him, a database is fully relational. Okay, this relational thing is very important here. The form of rows and tables and columns, right? So what he is saying, according to him, a database management system is fully relational if it abides by all his 12 rules. These rules are given by Code, and if a database management system abides all the 12 rules, then we call it a fully relational database management system. Code's rule actually define what quality a database requires in order to become a relational database management system. Okay, so it is simple. वो rules जो हैं वो define करते हैं कि आपका DBMS should have what qualities so that we can consider it a RDBMS. Okay, till now there is hardly any commercial product that follow all the 13 code rules, and even somewhere written that Oracle also only follows some 8.5. But somewhere like first rule, that is foundation rule. Actually, it is rule 0. That's why they will make 13. We have numbered from 0 to 12. So in total, there are 13 rules. So rule 0, foundation rule. For any system that is advertised as or claimed to be a relational database management, propounded to be a relational database system, that system must be able to manage database entirely through its relational capabilities. Okay, right? Relational capabilities. Relational database has some, lot of like referential integrity. You have seen one very important concept. So that is very important concept. If your database is not, able to manage such things, then you can't say it is a relational database. Rule 1, rule of information. So yes, when we are talking about database, that means we are talking about data. Data is nothing but a more organized information, we are saying. So relational database should store the data in the form of relations. So relations are nothing but tables. Okay, tables are relation in relational database management system. You can call it RDBMS also in short form. Be it any user defined data or metadata. Okay, I'll tell you what is metadata. You have not come across the term until now, but we will see what is metadata. क्या बोल रहे हैं? Be it any user defined data or metadata. Okay, user defined means what we define. Like for a student, we define its roll number, its name, its address, its marks, its class, whatever. So user defined data, along with it the metadata. It is important to store the value as an entity in the cells of table. Okay, entity means one row. So this is ये simple बोल रहा है कि if you are saying it is a database, it should be managing all these things. It should be working in this way. The rows and columns have to be strictly unordered. Please try to understand this thing. It has to be strictly unordered. Why this unordered is written here? Like we have a table in which we are storing students' information. So normally in Excel, if I'm storing, I will store it roll number 1, 2, 3, 4 sequentially, right? In ordered way, right? Ordered sort कर देते हैं हम roll number पे normally, so that it's easy for me to find out, like if I have to go to some specific roll number, I'll directly scroll there and go. But in a database, that is not required, because we are not going and scrolling data and fetching it. When you put a query, when you write a query that select star from student where student ID equal to 2050, maybe there is some student ID which is 2050, it doesn't have to be at 2050 place, ordered, stored, ordered like 1 to 2050. It will directly hit wherever it will find that 2050. So it need not to be ordered. ऐसे ordered sorted होने की जरूरत नहीं है. अगर मुझे randomly कोई भी data, कोई भी record जो कि 1000वां 1020वां रिकॉर्ड है, वो ऑटोमेटिकली वहां पे जाएगा. इट विल नॉट गो फर्स्ट ईयर एंड देन सीक्वेंशियली नहीं जाएगा वो. इट विल डायरेक्टली सर्च, जो भी आपने कंडीशन डाला है डायरेक्टली हिट देयर. ओके, सो ये ऑर्डर्ड हो या अनऑर्डर्ड हो, इट डजंट मैटर. ओके, नेक्स्ट रूल, रूल ऑफ गारंटीड एक्सेस. वेरी सिंपल, द नेम इटसेल्फ इज सजेस्टिंग guaranteed access of what? Access of information. हम जो भी डेटा स्टोर करते हैं, हमें उसको फेच करने के लिए मेथड होना चाहिए, right? Each unique piece of data, that is atomic value. Atomic value means each single value जो एक सेल में होता है. I told you that one cell will contain one atomic value. You cannot place a comma and then put one more value. ये हमने इसमें देखा है ना, आपके मल्टी वैल्यूड है या फिर कंपोजिट एट्रीब्यूट्स हैं. वी स्टोर इट इन सेपरेट कॉलम्स. सो एटॉमिक वैल्यू मींस ईच सेल विल कंटेन वन एटॉमिक वैल्यू, एंड वी आर सेइंग अंडर दिस रूल दैट वी शुड बी एबल टू फेच ईच यूनिक पीस ऑफ डेटा, चाहे वो कहाँ भी स्टोर हो, anywhere it is, but you should be able to access it. If there is any data which is stored and you are not able to access it, that will not be called a relational database management system, right? Each unique piece of data should be accessible by table name, then primary key plus attribute. Okay, note, ability to directly access via pointer is a violation of this rule. Okay, you cannot directly access it. You have to go it with the table name, the primary key and the column. Okay, rule number 3, rule of systematic treatment of null. What are basically null values? Null has several meanings. In RDBMS or in DBMS, it can mean missing data. See, it's not necessary that every time you have all the data for every record. हो सकता है we don't have data for something, maybe not applicable. Null has several meaning. It can be missing data, not applicable. Okay, sometimes it's not applicable also. Suppose you fill a form where you have to select whether you are in general category or you are in some different categories. And if you are in some different category, something is applicable, but you are in general category, open category, that next field may not be applicable to you, right? So null values are independent of any data type. Yes, data type you know, right? Data type क्या होता है? Whether in database we will see varchar, numbers. Varchar means variables, character variables. Okay, but null values are of नो डेटा टाइप. उनको कुछ ये ऐसा नहीं है कि ये डेट आना चाहिए था या यहाँ पे varchar आना चाहिए था या इंटीजर आना चाहिए था या फ्लोट आना चाहिए था. They should not be mistaken for blank or zeros. Okay, this is also if we don't have any value, that means not it is zero. Zero is a value actually, right? Zero एक value होती है. So null should be handled consistently. That we will see while doing practicals. Also, primary key must not be null. Never. Rule 4. Rule of active and online relational catalog. Okay, let's see what is relational catalog. Again, you will see that metadata. In the relational database system lexicon, metadata is the data about the database. Okay, नॉर्मली जब भी हम मेटा डेटा बोलते हैं तो इट इज डेटा अबाउट डेट. कैन यू सी दिस टेबल all of you, where employee ID, first name, last name, NIN, then department ID. These 5 fields are there. Okay. So this is actually data. When I say 45 Thomas Goldstein and then this number and then 2, this is a data. Employee ID is integer. Okay, this employee ID is integer. So जो data types हैं, या फिर I am saying employee ID is a primary key. ये इस डेटा के बारे में डेटा है. ये जो आपके कॉलम्स हैं इनके बारे में ये डेटा है. दिस इज डेटा अबाउट डेटा. ओके, लाइक कॉलम्स के नाम, ऑल द कॉलम नेम्स, देयर डेटा टाइप्स, देयर डिस्क्रिप्शन. Okay, somewhere you will see it's a foreign key, somewhere you will see that here you can say gender, it's a character, only one char. This is the data about data. We call it metadata. और ये रूल क्या बोल रहा है कि दिस मेटा डेटा शुड ऑल्सो बी स्टोर्ड इन द डेटाबेस इटसेल्फ. सो स्कीमा के बारे में, आपके डेटा के बारे में जो डेटा है, दैट इज कॉल्ड मेटा डेटा. द एक्टिव ऑनलाइन कैटलॉग दैट स्टोर्स द मेटा डेटा इज कॉल्ड डेटा डिक्शनरी. दिस इज द डेटा डिक्शनरी. दिस एंटायर, हम इसको टेबल नहीं बोलेंगे, दिस इज डेटा डिक्शनरी because it's a dictionary which is handling or which is holding all the data about your data. About your data means ये क्या होगा, this is a foreign key, this is a primary key, this has to be integer, this has to be varchar. तो वो सब उसने दिखाया है यहाँ पे. ये देखो, ये foreign keys, as I told you ना, department ID, it has to be integer and it is referring, REF दिखाया है ना, it is referring the department. We have one more table which is department, वहां पे का department ID यहाँ पे refer किया है. In the department table, that department ID is the primary key, but when we are referring here in employee, it is the foreign key. So all this is given here. This is the information. यहाँ से आपको नहीं पता चलेगा ये क्या है, but we have one more separate data dictionary which is holding all the information about this data. Okay, so this is called metadata. The so-called data dictionary is accessible only by authored user who have the required privilege. Yes, ये सबको access नहीं होगा, जिसको आप privileged हैं, admin हैं, उन्हीं को है. Otherwise people will change ना. You will change the reference. So how it will work? The same query language that is used for accessing the database should be used for accessing the data of the data dictionary. Are you getting this thing? ये बोल रहा है सेम क्वेरी लैंग्वेज. विच क्वेरी लैंग्वेज? वी नॉर्मली यूज एसक्यूएल. सो इसको भी, डेटा डिक्शनरी का जो डेटा है उसको भी एक्सेस करने के लिए हम एसक्यूएल ही यूज करेंगे. नेक्स्ट इज रूल 5, पावरफुल एंड वेल स्ट्रक्चर्ड लैंग्वेज. सो अगेन इट्स एग्जाम्पल आप देखो, एसक्यूएल. अ डेटाबेस कैन ओनली बी एक्सेस्ड यूजिंग अ लैंग्वेज हैविंग लीनियर सिंटैक्स दैट सपोर्ट डेटा डेफिनेशन, data manipulation and transaction management operations. I hope you remember DDL and DML. DDL, data definition, where we use like create table. Create table is a, create statement is a data definition. Drop statement, truncate statement, those are DDL. Manipulation क्या होता है? Select, insert, update, delete, which is we are doing with data in tables. So single robust language should be able to define integrity constraints. वही language आपके integrity constraints, views, data manipulation, almost everything you should be able to do with the single language. And that is like SQL. If the database allow access to the data without the use of this language, then this is a violation. अगर आप डेटा को बिना क्वेरी किए भी फेच कर पा रहे हैं, दैट मीन्स दैट इज नॉट अ रिलेशनल डेटाबेस. Okay, we call it a relational database when we use a single powerful language which is used to define the data, manipulate the data, transaction management, everything. Even data dictionary का data भी access करने के लिए we use SQL only. I mean the same language only, SQL, Oracle. View updation rule. Rule of updating views. Okay, views आपको आएगा unit number 3 when we will start with SQL ना. We have views. What is views? View क्या होता है? A view is a logical table which shows restricted data. देखो आपने एब्स्ट्रैक्शन देखा है ना, व्यू हेल्प्स इन डेटा एब्स्ट्रैक्शन. यू नो एब्स्ट्रैक्शन 3 लेवल था. जो मिडल लेवल है आपका, वहां पे आपका ऑल द लॉजिकल थिंग्स आर देयर, लॉजिकली यू हैव स्टोर्ड द डेटा. But at user level, user doesn't have to know how this data is stored, where it is stored. It just want a view. जो उसको चाहिए उतना view आएगा उसको, right? So actually we write a code to generate these views out of tables. As I told you, practically when you will start working, you will realize in tables we have number of columns, maybe 30, 40, 50 columns है हमारे पास table में. But those all information we need not to, we cannot say select star from this table. Star means all the information. सारा information हमें user को नहीं दिखाना होता है. User also doesn't need to. Okay, there are different types of user, उनको अलग अलग information चाहिए है, तो we create views. Okay, views क्या है? It's a logical table. Logically हम table में से data pick करते हैं, restricted data, जितना जिसको चाहिए as per the need of the user. Okay, so ये क्या बोल रहा है? View updation rule. अभी now you can think of that view is on the table itself. व्यू कहाँ से बना है? आपके जो बेस टेबल्स हैं जो आपने रेफर किए हैं उन्हीं टेबल्स का व्यू है ना. तो इफ यू अपडेट द टेबल, योर व्यू शुड आल्सो रिफ्लेक्ट दैट. व्यू शुड रिफ्लेक्ट द अपडेट्स ऑफ द रिस्पेक्टिव बेस टेबल्स एंड वाइस वर्सा. तो ये फीचर होता है. इट हैपेंस एक्चुअली. यू विल रियलाइज इट व्हेन वी विल डू द प्रैक्टिकल्स. हम जब टेबल्स को अगर अपडेट कर दिया तो वो जो व्यूज हैं वो ऑटोमेटिकली अपडेट होते हैं. दैट इज वन, होना ही चाहिए. दैट इज अ रूल. इफ इट इज नॉट हैपनिंग, दैट मीन्स इट्स नॉट अ रिलेशनल डेटाबेस मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम. बट ओरेकल जब हम सीखेंगे तो उसमें होता है. सो ओरेकल इज अ रिलेशनल डेटाबेस मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम. नेक्स्ट 7, रिलेशनल लेवल ऑपरेशंस. ऑपरेशंस हैं सिंपल, इंसर्ट, डिलीट, अपडेट. थोड़ा बहुत आपने भी सीखा भी होगा. At each level of relation we must there must be insert, update. ये सब ऑपरेशन सपोर्ट करने चाहिए. Okay, you should be able to insert data, delete data, update data. If your management system, database management system is not giving you these options, that means it's not relational database. Even these unions, intersections and minus, ये सब आपके set operations हैं, ये सब सपोर्ट करने चाहिए. Rule number 8 is rule of physical data independence. This is not a new term you are hearing now. Physical data independence and logical data independence we already have covered. Normally जो view रहता है आपका, the lowest level is your physical. In between is your logical and this is your user view. Okay. So जैसे इसने बोला है यहाँ पे physical data independent. Independent means if there is some change here, it should not reflect here or here. Okay. और ये क्या होता है? This is like how my data is stored. How मतलब कहाँ store है basically, disk में कैसे store है वो. तो that is not going to impact. If you will change something here, that will not impact here. Okay, that is physical data independence. The physical storage of data should not matter to the system. Okay, if say some file supporting table is renamed or moved from one disk to another, it should not affect the application. Yes, we are not bothered as a user or at logical level ki where your data is stored. Okay, so that give us the independence here. Ninth rule is rule of logical data independence. If there is a change in the logical structure means जो अभी हम tables बनाना सीख रहे हैं, वहां पे आपने रेफरेंस चेंज कर दिया, प्राइमरी की किसी एक को उठा के दूसरा बना दिया, किसी को इंटीजर से कैरेक्टर कर दिया, किसी का डेटा टाइप चेंज कर दिया. सो किसी एक टेबल को आपने स्प्लिट करके 2 में डाल दिया. सो दैट इज ऑल योर लॉजिकल स्ट्रक्चर. सो स्कीमास, पहले वहां पे m to n रिलेशन था, अभी 1 to m हो गया है, तो वी हैव चेंज द स्ट्रक्चर. सो या फिर पहले 1 to m था, नाउ इट इज m to n, अगेन वी हैव चेंज द स्ट्रक्चर. बट दैट शुड नॉट इम्पैक्ट, वो आपके यूजर व्यू को चेंज नहीं करेगा. Okay, if there is a change in the logical structure of the database, the user view of the database should not change. Rule of integrity independence. Integrity is always related to that data integrity. Means whatever data we are talking about, we should refer the same data. ऐसा नहीं है कि एम्प्लॉय यहाँ पे ई 500 है और कहीं पे आप E_500 रेफर कर रहे हैं. That will be two different datas. Okay, a database must be independent of the application that use it. Yes, very important. The database must be independent of the application that use it. एप्लीकेशन क्या होता है? सपोज आपने वेब एप्लीकेशन बनाया, कोई भी आपका सॉफ्टवेयर है, उसके इंडिपेंडेंट होना चाहिए. All its integrity constraint can be independently modified without the need of any change in the application. 11 is rule of distribution independence. There are 4 rules which are completely on this independence thing. One is, let's see, go back. Rule of physical data independence, rule of logical data independence, rule of integrity independence, rule of distribution independence. All are different. Okay, so now again think, a database should work properly regardless of its distribution across a network. Most of the application which we are using today, like Gmail, IRCTC, any other your banking, any application, those databases are not at one place. Those are distributed. Even if a database is geographically distributed with data stored in pieces, and the end user should get an impression that it is stored at the same place. This lays the foundation of distributed database. Okay, this is a little advanced thing. Distributed systems में हम देखते हैं, but most of the things now are working on this only. एक ही जगह पे सर्वर नहीं होता है, ठीक है ना. नॉन सबवर्जन रूल. नॉन सबवर्जन, सबवर्ट क्या होता है? सबवर्ट इज लाइक compromise with the rules basically. So what I are saying, we will not do any compromise. हम कोई compromise नहीं करेंगे. ऐसा नहीं है कि you will go directly to lower level and you will change something. Okay, if the low level access is allowed to a system, it should not be able to subvert or bypass integrity rules to change the data. No one is allowed to change these integrity rules. चाहे किसी भी level पे आपको access है, so you don't be able to subvert it. You will not be able to subvert it. Any row should obey the security and integrity constraints imposed. No special privileged are applicable.